All right, let's move on from the feudal system to the communal system, because that's what's happening in San Francisco with all these startups. Young people and people in the tech world, they are living together, cooking together, working together. It is like a communist bonkers party. Let's look at a picture of the embassy, which is in San Francisco. That is where a bunch of tech kids, they're kids, 20s, 30s, couple older ones. They're doing these co-living spaces. Let's take a look at the dinner table at the embassy. Look at them, just enjoying a meal that they all cook together. This seems pretty decent so far, right? So these are co-living spaces, and they're meant for entrepreneurs seeking more permanent home and adopting a lifelong philosophy of communal living. So it's about shared groceries, family values, raising the kids together. They have perks like yoga and things of that nature.
I can't believe commune has actually turned people into douchebags. You think of a commune, you think of, people maybe searching for some sort of higher level of communal living and being with your neighbors. I'm not saying that's what happened. I'm saying a lot of it, especially back in the day, was associated with like, let's do drugs and fuck and live in a commune and socialism. Right. First of all, they've taken all the fun. They've taken all the sex, fun, and drugs out of a commune.
Where was the orgy? I was looking for an orgy picture.
Really.
No orgy picture.
I know some people. I know one person who actually lives in one of the communes that's at 20 Mission.
Really?
And I know some other people that are kind of involved in a little bit of co-living in San Francisco because it's expensive. And I'm telling you, San Francisco is supposed to be this wild, crazy town, but when you get the tech entrepreneurs coming in there and what they want to talk about in the hallways, which it actually says on the website of some of these things, come talk about branding and get your inner foodie on in here.
They're introverts, basically. They're autistic introverts.
Exactly.
There's really no fucking going on.
No fucking. There was no weed, no nothing.
Right.
I didn't see any weed there.
You know what, but this is their bliss. Their bliss is that, and they are following their bliss in their own way. And I'm actually encouraged by this because, out of the 60s, out of that communal living came a lot of douchebags. It became the me generation. The whole 80s, the whole yuppies, selfish, the Reagan eras, all that stuff. I'm glad to see that a generation is willing to reconnect with each other again and live in a space of we. The planet desperately, we all need to learn to do this. We've all become selfish, and especially like in LA here, we drive around in our little cocoon cars and, and we don't want to deal with anybody. And I'm a person, I don't do groups well, I don't do the whole cult thing, I was all in the New Age thing, but I've been on a lot of Buddhist retreats and lived in that kind of setting before, and it's lovely. It's really lovely. There's something amazing about being connected to a communal. Now, there's a lot of bullshit that goes on there and a lot of egos and all that stuff too, but I'm kind of excited by this.
Okay, so I'm glad you took it out of our jokey
I like this
start.
too. I make fun of it. I make fun of everything, and it's like, okay, the startup tech community, but I love it too. I mean, honestly, when you have people, especially in tech startups, that are creating technology that kind of further isolate people and help people interact even less, to see that these very people are living by a different kind of code. Ooh, little pun there with code. Unintentional.
Well done.
But to see that people are coming together and living and learning how to share communal space, to cook meals together, to depend on each other, to tolerate each other, and to share ideas actually is really encouraging. So as much as I made fun of the initial concept and I think, oh gosh, who would want to do that? It's rad. I have no other way to put it. It's great.
And like all the communes in the 60s too, it is slightly elitist. I mean, these are educated middle class kids, for the most part doing this. They're not coming together, but they are coming together because of financial issues. They can't, San Francisco's impossible to live by yourself.
Right, but isn't there something to what you're saying though about that? It is mostly middle class kids that get into the tech world. So it's not, you'd think that maybe lower class.
Well, they're doing it by necessity. That's what they're saying. They're going so low. People with low income are living together with 20 people in a home out of necessity, not because they wanted to pool their money together and get a ping pong table and build a bowling alley. But who cares? This is what these people want to do. Just because you're middle class and have money and are capable of doing this doesn't mean that you're shitting on people with less money.
Okay, so let me play Bill O'Reilly for just a second. And isn't this the most anti-capitalist thing we've ever heard? And it's going to destroy the nature of the country.
Capitalist thing, because these people are getting together and innovating in really unique way. These are the people who are going to lead us in through the 21st century and are probably going to solve the problems of the environment and jobs and all of that. I mean, these are the people that have the minds and the education and the spare time to think about these things. And when you come together and think, they're think tanks in some ways. it's kind of a think tank from the ground up. It's not, you know, some Koch brothers think tank, you know, from that direction.
It's also not anti-capitalist because most of the agenda of the people living there is entrepreneurship, small business. All these people want to make money. They're saving their money to invest in their own small businesses to make money. So
and they all want to be billionaires.
All of them want to be billionaires. All these people living in this commune.
Right, they all want to be billionaires so they can get out and own a mansion.
It's like networking 24/7. I think a lot of these people are living together because they want to bring common ideas, not just for philosophy or the higher good of the arts. It's different than when we think of like an artist commune and where you have Bill O'Reilly going, it's anti-capitalist. Instead, this is actually the opposite of this. This is young people wanting to pool their resources financially, emotionally, psychologically, and intellectually in order to create more and to make money.
Yeah. So
some of these houses, by the way, you can look at it like a yearbook and you can see who lives there. And under it says what either tech startup they work for or what they're starting. And some of them, instead of their name, it says their name of their company that lives there.
Interesting.
Yes.
Communist freaks. All right, so last
Capitalist freaks.
Yeah, capitalist freak. Whatever. Same difference, I guess, in this case. But so last thought on this: is there any real world example of this type of thing working? I was trying to think, like in the last 100 years. The only thing I could sort of come up with, I guess, like a kibbutz on Israel. But even that, they've disappeared because they've become more capitalist. So is there something about this that they can work for a little while, and then eventually these people will move on, and then the next crop doesn't quite have the same belief system?
I think you're right about that. I agree. You know, and I think, you know, cult of personality may start around. I mean, who knows? You know, and that kind of stuff. But yeah, I think there will be some watering down of it and some evolution within this generation. But I think it's an interesting generation, and maybe all of those play dates and helicopter parenting added to this. Maybe this is like one of the good kind of side effects of that kind of parenting that I always think is ridiculous.
It's a little bit of an extended adolescence in a way when you have people in their upper 20s and 30s living in a dorm-like culture, but it's not necessarily a negative thing. The only time it becomes interesting is when a company like Facebook or Google or one of these monsters decides to start building dorm-like things like they are right now. Right now
Apple,
at Facebook, you can already get your hair cut, you can already do your laundry at Facebook, they already feed you all the meals while you're there. The next step now is to basically have a company store and basically have you, you know, just paying back into and just only living for the company.
Instead of mining in a ore in a mine, you know, they're mining your intellect for
and at least I'll say at Facebook, it wasn't like the company store where you go get your paycheck, then just pay the company back again money, like actual company store. But it is what you're saying. It's more for intellectual. It's for your time is money. So you're not commuting anymore.
It's like all your mommy needs are being taken care of, your laundry and your food and all of that.
Autopilot for Facebook.
Right. And this is coming from the ground up because they're trying to build the startup versus what you're saying about the Koch brothers having a think tank is coming from the top down, which maybe would have slightly.
The more acceptable this gets from the ground up, though, the more acceptable it will be for the larger companies to start saying, hey, why don't you come live together on our, you know, whatever Pepsi-Cola compound, and people, you know, where the, you know, bathtubs run free with sugar water, and everyone's like, well, okay, cool. I was living in a commune anyway, right? So
I thought this was going to be our like uplifting, you know, future's good story. And
no, I still think it's great. It's just we can't help the snark. That's the problem. I still think it's great, and honestly, I wish that I had been part of. You know, I feel almost like too old to do something like that now. But if I'd been living in San Francisco, New York, even here, and there was a cool co-working living situation, it was appropriate for me, I would do it in a second.
I would too.
Yeah.
I would too.
All right, there you go.